Hello, welcome to Switched On. My name is Mike. Here we have Riddle, and this week we're going to be discussing physical media versus digital downloads, the pros, the cons, and what our thoughts and opinions are on it, really. Let's start straight to the current collectomaniac as it goes at the moment, physical media. What's your initial view on, I suppose, what would you pick above one or the other?
This is a very good question. It's a good topic to bring me, right? So, it depends what system.
Okay, so yeah.
So
Context.
retro,
Yeah.
hardware all the time. None of this. I love physical media, or hard media as I called it earlier.
Yeah, hard media.
If we're looking more modern systems, I'm a bit more open to physical, to having not just physical copies but digital copies. The problem you get with digital is, for example, I've got PS4.
Yeah.
I've got the monthly subscription, so they give you games.
Yep.
You get inundated with games, and they just get pushed to the wayside. I mean, they may be really, really good. I just can't be bothered to play them.
Sport for choice.
Yes, sport for choice. Kind of taking a kid into a sweet shop and saying,
here's all the sweets that you want, and it loses its appeal, right?
Yeah.
I can have them whenever I want.
I'm not interested.
As an adult, I still probably overindulge.
However, on a PC, I particularly like digital media.
Yeah, but I'll put this question to you. Do you not think that's conditioned behaviour through the way that Steam has worked? And it works so well.
Yes.
That because it works so well, that you're more inclined to feel that digital downloads are more appealing to you?
Yes, but it's yes and no. But if you look at my Steam library, it's not massive. I've kept it very restrictive because I wanted to only download the games that I wanted to play. There's only there's probably about 3 or 4 games.
So no humble bundles with dozens of games that you just don't want because they were 99 or 79p or whatever you want to try.
Exactly.
Right, okay, cool.
So what are your views? Because that's pretty much mine.
I've changed. My attitude's changed a little bit in recent years. I was very much absolutely for physical media.
Yep.
I've very rarely traded in the stuff I've owned as a kid. I've got stuff that dates back to early 90s, late 80s that I've bought when I was younger. Kept hold of it. I made a couple mistakes trading in my PS1, a couple games back in the day. Lost a few other games for various other reasons, but I'm a hoarder. I like collecting stuff and
Called me the collectomaniac.
boxes. I've got boxes of boxes in my loft. I keep everything. All the plastic wrapping that stuff comes in with consoles, and games are pretty much the same way. I'll keep in the scratch off Club Nintendo points you used to get for Nintendo games, but with recent years having shifted back into the PC gaming sector and with Steam, I just instinctively digitally own games, and it's led me to sort of a new behaviour. If it's first party stuff or games from developers of franchises that I really love that I think have history as well with them, like a game like Legend of Zelda, I will always buy physical. No matter how convenient it might be to own that digitally, if there's a physical copy, I want that copy, especially usually a limited edition version. Which is never really limited. It's just sold as such. And it would go in my cupboard. Cart would stay out, and I pop the cart in when I want to play it. But if it's a game like, let's say I particularly like all of a sudden an Assassin's Creed game, which I'm not a massive fan of the franchise, I'm still not inclined to buy the physical copy because the history of the franchise to me isn't significant or important. A franchise like Uncharted, which I've loved, I haven't played the latest one, but I've loved the first 3. If I had a choice to buy digital or physical, I'd buy physical again because they've historically been great games and they've got that fame, if you like. So I'm somewhere in between. So indie games, small pick up and play games, puzzle games. I love a digital copy because it just boots up straight away. I've got the choice in front of me if need be. I don't have to switch carts. I'm out and about. I want to play a quick game of Picross or Tetris. Just boot it up. A cartridge to pop in. Okay,
so for example, where digital games I think come into their own is 3DS.
Okay.
So
interesting.
You want? So I like playing my 3DS. So I've got like digital games on there, but I actually own the physical copies, which is quite bad. because I love the physical copies, but I also like having a digital version. So I want to take like a 3DS with me, and I've got like Super Mario Brothers 3. I've got like 5 or 6 Zelda games. I've got probably about 7 or 8 Game Boy games, because I literally cannot put a Game Boy game in a 3DS. And when I go travelling, I don't want to take a £400 Switch with me, because I'm like, if I lose that or spill water over it, I'll be really annoyed. However, with a 3DS...
It's an expensive edition for Switch.
Yeah, it is. It's expensive.
It's a limited edition.
But I'm just thinking if you liquid damage it, you've got your game cards.
You've got everything in there, yeah. If you take everything with you, it's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. But it's a bit like owning a phone and being overprotective with battery usage. Cool, your battery's going to last longer. But it's not convenient to not use, just use it as you would like, right? It's a bit like the Switch. It's great, it's portable. To me, I would just take my Switch with me, take all my cards, and I sort of, on the opposite, I'm like, well, it's a portable console. I've got everything like hand. I've got a nice little case to put all my games in. But there is that somewhat anxious feeling of, what if I lose just the game case? I've lost all my games.
Yeah.
Whereas I felt recently as well with digital is, with platforms like Steam, I can have a game that came out in the late 90s that will, unless something drastic happens or the inevitable flow of time, for the foreseeable future, I'll be able to play that game.
Yes.
At any point, anytime. I'll sign into my account, download it, a few hundred megabytes. I'm playing it. Doesn't matter if it's
good to go.
A powerful system, a weak system, a new system. It's accessible. If I come to your house and I go, let's play this game, we'll sign in and I'll play my game.
Yeah, exactly.
If I didn't bring the cart with me, it doesn't matter. That's where I think digital really comes into
its own.
Yeah. That's why I think Steam appeals so much as well.
So back in the late 90s, when PS1 was really, really popular, I took my games out, had all my games in the CD pouch, left my friend's house. For some reason, my bag come undone, and then I lost all my games.
Oh, no,
and I lost probably £150, £200 worth of games, maybe more.
That's when you start wearing a patch and a peg leg and going,
Yeah, you feel like...
Yeah, I want those games back. I've paid for them once, I don't have to pay for them again.
Had all the boxes and all in good condition, because I bought all of them for new. And that kind of has made me probably a little bit more apprehensive to just digital only. But in certain situations, like I said, I take my 3DS because I still feel that my 3DS is good enough for portability, and there's still a lot of games I haven't got to play on there, so I love that for portability. And to be honest, I've got one of those battery packs that will charge my 3DS about 5 times.
Yeah,
I'll get more power out of it, so for me, that's perfectly suited. And I know the Switch is absolutely amazing, and you can buy loads and loads of games for it. But to me, the Switch is, I want to play it, I'll pick it up and put it in the bedroom, and I'll fall asleep with it. That's random stuff like that.
I think the 3DS still is it is a portable console. That's what it is, and it feels that that's purely what it's meant to do. So I find that with games that were developed, and we're going off on a little bit of a tangent, but games that developed for like the 3DS, they're developed with portability in mind.
Yes,
they're developed with the idea that you're going to play for a certain length of time, or you're going to have a certain attention span, or with AAA console games. It's great being able to play them on the go, and it's great you can just pause them at any time. But the actual design of the game isn't built around that per se. So while it's still great to play them, they're still not mobile portable games.
Yes.
I think about certain Mario games and how short the courses are, work really well when they're portable.
Yeah.
Odyssey, great, you can find them every now and again, but psychologically you never feel like you're finished with a level until you're out and done, right? So you play a little bit, it doesn't feel as level complete, done that puzzle.
And this is where physical and digital comes in hand. So for example, I think you're right on buying the big releases, and I can see I like both, but for me personally as a collector, if there's something I really want, I'm in the same court as you, I'll have that game. Yeah. If it's something like Pro Evolution or FIFA, I don't care about
the value of those. Any game with a number in it loses value pretty much. A year rather uses value drastically when the next iteration comes out.
There are a few examples. Final Fantasies.
But they're not really based on year. But I mean, when you got Madden 2002 or something like that, it's like next year it's for 79p or
exactly
$9 in the bargain bin.
Because no one wants it.
Yeah, I'm really starting to see less value in a physical copy now. In terms of like, okay, so here's a bit of a myth. Everyone talks about owning a game when you own it physically, and you only own a license when you own it digitally. Well, technically, you only own a license when you buy both. Yeah, it's the same principle, except that you have the control to physically keep that game and play that game so many years later. Whereas if you own a game digitally, let's say Sony goes under and they can't, they close down the servers to the PSN network, PlayStation network, rather, then you're done. You can't ever access that stuff again. But then emulation comes into play, and I think there's a sort of parity and fairness in that, in where you can say I've paid for a game and
you still got it.
Play it again, one way or another.
But you've also got the issues of physical media has that issues of disc rot, which is obviously starting to come into play.
Exactly. So and that's the other side of it. I don't play my SNES games anymore because there's
might have degradation.
Yeah, exactly. There might be something worn out over there. So many times that electrical current can run through that board before something fries, or it just isn't able to do that anymore. Or the battery runs out, got to change the battery, and
it isn't worth messing around with.
Yeah, all discs will degrade.
Yeah.
Faster than cartridges as well. They will degrade, and they will cease to just be anything. They will just be clumps of,
a little plastic disc.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's all. Which is where I think so. That's why I like the physical copies of retro, but I am kind of getting more into the digital copies because of this. And I think probably for preservation purposes, we should go. A lot of the retro stuff should go digital, and things like newer consoles that have recently come out, on where our colleague Si, who's also with us on this channel, has uploaded a few videos on the latest SNES clone that he's got. It's because it's on PGA, it's basically an identical copy using hardware, but you have the ability to rip the ROM to the actual device.
Yeah.
Which I think that is where you got physical copies, but you'll also have a digital copy, and I think that's the idea. And I think that's where you want to go.
Yeah, I think so. But one thing I will say, though, that's worth mentioning is we talk about disc degradation of physical media.
Yeah.
But something special about physically having a game.
Yeah.
Opening it up, physically, you're having more interaction with it. It's much more personal experience.
Exactly.
Then you've got the case, right? You've got the box art.
Yep.
And you've got the booklets. I know they're all but nearly dead now.
Yep.
You get a little leaflet telling you the basic controls on the front and back. I get why that's happened, but still, historically speaking, and with certain cases and certain games now, there's something tangible in that. It is tangible, but something of value in having that physical,
and slapping it in there,
putting it on your bookshelf or your DVD shelf or your game shelf.
Yeah, whatever.
And having it on display, and knowing that it's a bit like a photo, right? You can take tons of photos on a digital device and never see them again because you never print them out. You sit through a photo album and you go through the photos and you sit down around it and you're like, I remember this, and it ignites nostalgia and memories. And normally when you don't do much with digital photos, they just exist in a clump of mess somewhere on some sort of cloud server.
And you're taking hundreds of the same bloody photo. Yeah.
And that's the same with a bit like piracy as well. If you owned every single game, it loses the value. Like, why are you going to try that game for more than 10 minutes because you didn't pay for it? It's free, right? Like, you just give up. Like, it's meh. I didn't really get into that game. I've got these other 2,000 games that came out on this system. It's just, what's the point?
Yeah, exactly.
And there's something to be said for the physical collection, the aspect of it being on show. And I don't mean it from a narcissistic or vanity side of things. I own this game, but just, you look at your shelf and you see your family photos. It's the same as when you look back and you see Ocarina of Time up there and you're like, oh man, I remember that game. What
such
great
memory.
Experience.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe you want to boot it up again because you remember it. And there's something to consider, I think, when it comes to physical media. I think there's something has to be said for balance.
Yes. I don't think it can be all one or all the other, because it's now to the point where I see a lot of other people have had discussing like physical versus digital media, and some people are always pro or some people are always pro physical. But you are right. I think you need a balance as well. I think you need to have both, because you've got like indie developers that may not have the money to physically fund actual hard copies of it.
Well, yeah, it's a gamble as well, right? When you make a physical copy, you're already outlaying X amount of more money in hoping that you recuperate X amount back.
Yes.
You think about Rocket League, right? How massive that game is for an indie perspective. that started its success by gambling in a different way. We're going to only sell the game digitally, and we're going to give it away for free on the PSN network. And then from there, people are going to reciprocate their love by buying a game on different platforms or buying a game again on
and buying the DLC, which is what I did.
And it thrives on digital. You couldn't imagine them having... Well, I know they didn't. They've already stated they didn't have the budget. No money was left to advertise this game when they finished it. So they physically... the only option for them is to go the free route and see where that happens. Or see what happens with that. So physical media costs money. It is a roll of the dice. It might not work out. It was more so roll the dice when it was the only option, especially back in the SNES era. You paid for X amount of cartridges to be printed, and they either sold out and you requested more, or they didn't sell and that was it. You never got your money. You know, you could, essentially you were stuck to a certain extent anyway.
Or just overprint them like ET. And end up in a desert somewhere in Arizona.
I think that was a plan all along. We'll overprint it, we'll bury them, we'll find the burial site. And sell each copy for a huge profit.
Yeah, exactly.
So many years later. No, there's definitely something to be said for a mix of both. I don't think you could be on either side of the fence. And Steam is the best model, I think, for a digital side of things. Perfect example. Playing Stardew Valley. You would be playing Stardew Valley. You like it. I sign in. You can't play it.
Yeah.
Cool, that's fair. I get that. You go and buy it.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's a bit like a demo. If you love it so much, you're going to buy that game.
Yeah, exactly.
And play that game. Yeah. And you see that instance happen.
Yeah. So why not? Because it allows us to share stuff, but not always have to be like, well, you like this game, but it's not really for me. Or that game's brilliant. You want to play multiplayer, and we'll just bang on and jump it and buy it. So that kind of stuff is good, and I think that's where a lot of like consoles don't quite get it yet.
Yeah, I mean, see, back in the day, I just lend you the physical game, right?
Yeah.
Here you go. You borrow it, you play it, done. And then I'll be without it, but you'd have it and you could play it. And the fear with digital-only games is that you lose that. And that was the whole, ironically, what Microsoft was pushing for. And that was a terrible conference when they announced the Xbox One. Don't get me wrong, but
it's
the principle on DRM and the way they wanted to approach that was pretty interesting. Yes. Even had like a returns policy, a sell-on policy. It had potential, but obviously they went about it the wrong way. Sony come out and went, "This is how I lend somebody a game." Boom, and bam, nails in the coffin. That's the end of that. Day one update, and it's
killed them.
Yeah, exactly. But that's what Steam's done all along. It's what PC gamers have accepted all along. But from the console market, there's a lot more apprehension there. But we're seeing sales figures come in about the increase every year on year, for digital above physical. And part of the reason for that as well is the fact that games aren't ever really finished now when they launch. Yeah, so even if you own a game physically, now it's compressed to a disc because you can't fit it all on a disc anyway. So then you have to extract and install it on the hard drive, much like a digital game, which means that you're only using that disc as what's DRM. It's what's reading the code is authorised that you got the game. You can play the game that's installed onto your hard drive.
Exactly.
And then your updates, which go onto that, expansion, DLC, and all of a sudden your game is a lot less physical than what it once was. Exactly. Where's the collection purpose in Destiny disc?
Prime example, Doom.
Yeah.
90 gig.
Yeah.
That's how big that game is. I've got on Steam. It's 90 gig. Man, try and fit that on a. You'd have to have 2 Blu-ray discs.
So you own the physical copy on an Xbox One or PS4, right?
I've never owned it.
So you're essentially installing it onto Drive, so it will still run. But when you got a game like Destiny, people love Destiny. They sold collector's editions for that as well. In 10 years' time, when those servers go offline or that console is no longer accessible, and you're sticking it in an old PS4, you're not going to be able to play it. You've not collected anything because half the game is missing. It's updated, and even if the servers are still up and running, but you can't download the DLC, you're still missing. You know what I mean? You're missing so much content.
Or when your drive fails, is another thing.
Or like games like Final Fantasy 15, which bring DLC after DLC after DLC after DLC. Unless they bring out a complete disc, you really are owning part of that game.
Yes, exactly. So I think you are right. Some instances, definitely they need to have like digital copies because it's just the way the world has kind of switched and how gaming works. So something like Breath of the Wild, you play it in 15, 20 years' time, even if you didn't have the patches, it would still work.
It would still run, yeah.
It would run. So I think in certain aspects you're right, and I think where you're saying what I do like is when you get like the collector's edition, or like best prime example, Xenoblade's collector's edition when you had that lovely book, or Mario Maker had that lovely book. They're both the same size, but having something like a collector's book is kind of just as important as having a physical game, because sometimes you just want maybe a little statue.
Yeah. Even guides and stuff, right? Like
Yeah,
I used to buy my guides for my old Final Fantasy games, and the information's on the internet, but there's something nice about having the book. It's there, it goes on your bookshelf.
Or when you're stuck in that one game, and you remember in the like early 90s, we had to wait for like Games Master magazine.
You used to phone up Nintendo hotline in the
Nintendo hotline, yeah.
Rack up your parents' phone bill.
Yeah, they should get really upset. But
you know,
I didn't get that because I didn't have Nintendo at that time. I was more, I had more Mega Drive, and I had PC as well, so I'd like PC in the early 90s and playing games like Doom. And to be fair, on the internet we didn't really have.
Yeah, we had like
you had to ask your mates.
It was word of mouth. It was like, did you know if you put this code in, it can do that? It's incredible, and it would circulate and it become more social.
Exactly.
But yeah,
the hot games, the hot games are now.
Yeah, when someone would come around with a cheat sheet for like GTA 3.
Oh god, that was funny.
And that was when the internet was still, it already well established itself as a resource.
That is true. It just took a while to get there, didn't it?
Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing here, is especially with this generation, we've seen the transition truly happen. They started it with the previous generation, but this generation, digital delivery, always on service, games of service.
Downside to that is when the server goes down, you are screwed.
Yeah, but like I love the Virtual Console on Wii. That's closing down this year.
Yeah,
that means that
actually closes
every game
down.
I've bought if I wanted to buy a Wii again, I couldn't re-download those games. I've lost those games. They're on an account somewhere, but whether Nintendo ever sort of re-access that, or I think they're just going to purge it. It's done and dusted.
Well, I think what they're going to do, it'd be interesting to see what they do. I think what they this year in March they stopped the Wii account on 26. You couldn't buy any more points. I think they're keeping it alive for another year. 2019 is when they die, or when it goes offline. Yeah, they're no longer selling points now, so you can't buy essentially new games, which is annoying.
It'll be closed within a year, and when it's gone, it'll be gone. I mean, the Wii U's got their own version where you can download the older games for the Wii U with the. Yeah, I mean, but if you never had the game, if you had to physically download the game, you can get the Wii U versions if they've been re-released for Wii U, which add £1 or £2 to the original purchase, and you get them back. But
do you want to do that with like 20 games?
But that's how accounts. That's an account system, right? That's the future of again, Steam does it best. It's just, I think, going to roll over bit by bit until it will never go away.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, they never. That's a overstatement, because at some point it will die. It will become something else. How it does that we'll have to wait and see. Sony with the PS3 to PS4, you owned a game on PS3, it didn't work on the PS4 at first, but then they're starting to have some stuff carry over.
Yeah. Xbox One
have done brilliant with it.
Yeah,
the backwards compatibility side of things.
Yeah, so like if you go on your 360, for example,
pretty well actually. Microsoft with
their
dire first press conference and now turned it around in terms of, at least from a pleasing the fans perspective. I mean, financially, in terms of sold, it's not done.
Butchered themselves slightly. But I think what you've got to look at is the way that they're pushing their digital content to say, hey, this is an Xbox One, but it will take 360. And I think Sony could take a little leaf out of their book. I wouldn't be surprised if the Switch did the same thing in a slightly different way.
Well, so Sony tried we're going to resell you your old games via online service, wasn't it? Like you essentially stream it through sort of into
PlayStation Now, and I don't think they can do it because it's not like a PC where you can just download it. What they should have done was done something similar to Steam, done it as that sort of model and said, look, you pay this monthly subscription, you play this till whenever you stop paying for it, bang, job done.
Yeah.
Instead of paying, what they're trying to do is, it's slightly different from what I understand. So you pay your monthly allowance and you do whatever, but it's streaming. Instead of streaming, it should be downloaded to your console, which I think is a bit terrible streaming.
Yeah, I mean, again, the internet just never feels quite ready for for that experience as well.
No.
No matter how good your internet is, anything happens with ping or downtime or whatnot.
Yeah, exactly.
And
you're restricted by the download limit you have.
Yeah.
So if you live in an area, like for example, your isn't quite as good.
Poverty.
Yeah, internet poverty, which we're going to upgrade the whole country to.
Thanks, OpenReach.
Yeah.
No,
to
but
fibre optic.
like Nintendo had been doing it best historically. Like,
Yeah.
If you forget like the SNES, N64, and GameCube, you're moving on from there. The Wii played GameCube games.
Yeah.
And the Wii U played Wii games.
Yeah.
The Game Boy Color played Game Boy games. The
Game Boy
Advance plays Game Boy Color and Game Boy games. The Game Boy...
Well, the SNES actually plays Game Boys as well.
Yeah, but I mean through an adapter.
Yeah.
I mean like in its natural state. The
yeah.
DS played Game Boy Advance games.
Yes, it did.
And Game Boy Color
DS
games,
Lite, that was. Yeah.
But didn't play the original Game Boy games.
Yeah.
Something like that, right?
And the 3DS,
plays...
DS and 3DS games.
Yeah, exactly. And then the Virtual Console sort of came into its own in the Wii and 3DS era, which is a great way to preserve games, but you just got to buy them again. It's not really inheriting an old system. But like you say, at what point does your physical media even work?
Yeah, exactly.
At what point does it, maybe they last a lifetime, maybe it lasts half a lifetime, but the more you use it, the less likely it's
going to be to work in. Yeah,
exactly. So digital, in that respect, is going to be the future.
Longevity, yeah.
Yeah, I just think like just the option,
yeah.
Look at Breath of the Wild when Switch launched. It sold 105%.
Physical.
So it sold more than the console launch. So that means people were buying more of the game than there were consoles out there.
Yeah.
What's the main reason? People are buying digital and then they're buying the physical to keep the physical copy.
Yeah, keep it neat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And shouldn't have to. That what I think would be a good idea in the future is perhaps, we've mentioned this before on this channel, is maybe when you buy a game you get some sort of digital version. But obviously the issue then comes, well then you just have a physical game on, but maybe it's a question of every so often you have to pop the cart in, or every so often you have to remind the system that you own the physical game to validate your digital game. Kind of sounds like a bit confident with that actually, but there will be some sort of system. I think there should be some sort of system.
Yeah. Disables your game until you put it in.
Yeah, but then it's not that. That sounds like a terrible business model on paper, but there may be something around that.
Or they could go, right, well, you own the physical copy. We can see that, so we'll give you a discount towards the...
But if the physical cart has an actual serial number on it.
Oh, yeah, so that serial number gets linked to that game.
Exactly. And then you've got the serial number for the digital only game. I mean, you activate it once, and then maybe you have to type in the serial number again every so often, maybe when you change systems. So you really are truly stuck with that game. And maybe it just costs a little bit more than a game by itself. Maybe you pay, instead of £50, you pay £65. I'll be willing to do that just to have the physical copy for collector purposes with the nice, cool sword in the stone.
But have every game where you go.
Yeah, like a compromise.
Yeah, exactly.
Especially seeing as digital is huge profit margins for these companies because they cut out the middleman, they cut out the manufacturing costs, shipping costs.
They've got their own service, just upload it. The other advantage of digital, which we didn't actually speak about, which is something I want to quickly inject, is release dates. That's why physical's gone up. So you don't have to wait out in the cold anymore. I remember waiting out in the cold for GTA 4. Got all of it home. I think I played it on... I can't remember if it was a PS4 or 360. One of them I played it on. And I had to wait for it to install. Well, it must have been the 360, yeah. Because I had to install it onto the drive. I had 4 discs to install. 3 discs, I can't remember.
No.
Took ages, and then I couldn't play it. And I was like,
with PC gaming sticking in each floppy one after the other.
Yeah, to get, God.
Oh, come on, 1.44 megabytes is not quite cutting it for this.
Yeah.
But
it's the same sort of idea. If we have like digital, so I bought a game recently on the Switch digitally, and I downloaded it 4 days before it even come out, and as soon as the day came, I could just play it.
Yeah,
I love that.
There's another pro to digital as well, is when you develop something with physical moving parts, like a disc reader.
Yeah.
They are more inclined to break.
Yeah.
Just like a hard drive is from a solid state drive.
Mm.
As well as that, you've got the noise factor, the heat factor. From a technical design point, an architectural point of view, it's nicer not to have those components. Obviously, from a usability point of view, but I can watch this DVD on my PS2 or I can watch this video on my PS3. So it has its value there.
But you're right.
That's why I can see cartridges in terms of the Switch model coming back maybe with the next gen consoles. Especially because the biggest issue before is, well, they're not actually carts, but the cart format before was so much more expensive to manufacture.
Yes.
For arguably a lot less space than what a CD was offering. Now
it's the opposite way around.
It's the other way around, right?
Yeah.
Discs are still only a few pence or to make, but carts are much more expensive, and you're getting a lot more space and a lot faster read-write speeds.
Exactly.
Which, again, if you're installing, it makes more sense if you buy a physical cart.
Yeah, it means it doesn't have the issue of installing.
The only problem is then you are truly kicking off backwards compatibility. If PS5 comes out and has no discs to lock, then you truly are nipping physical backwards compatibility on the head. But again, you can't play PS3 games or PS2 games or PS1 games on a PS4 when it launched, so it wouldn't be unusual.
Yeah.
And then you have no disc drive, you're sticking carts in the top. I like the sound of that personally.
Yeah, go back to carts.
Yeah.
Well, they're tiny.
More durable.
They are more durable.
Yeah.
I remember washing a few of my Game Boy games by mistake.
Yeah.
Still working.
And the thing is as well, with the original carts, because, I mean, again, what's sold now is just essentially physical, solid media. It's not a cart like nutrition.
It's micro SD card, isn't it?
And the battery built in, which is, what they are now really is just a place, just like say, like a micro SD card. They're flash memory.
Yeah, exactly.
And
their propriety, obviously.
If that will last a lot longer than, say, a cart, which will have to change your battery at some point.
Yeah. And your disc will just like dissolve somehow. I'm not really sure how it works, but I know it just dissolves.
They chemically break down over time.
Yeah, exactly.
So, and the more you have strong lasers on the discs, the more likely you are to chemically break down and just
kill them.
Yeah, but then you could argue, I mean, everything will wear out. That's just the nature of the world. But yep,
time, isn't it?
Yeah,
can't argue that.
Nothing makes you feel more old
than watching YouTubers and realising they're the same age as you. Oh dear.
Oh man, that guy looks pretty old, but wait, he's talking about living through the 90s as if it was his youth, because it was, and that's what being old is. And now we got this digital only generation coming in. Well, not digital only, but digital predominant, and it's just completely different from when we grew up with buying a game. You physically picked up the game, you opened the booklet, you looked at the box art, you read the little bits on the back.
Just to make sure
you go in the shop, you're like, I'm going to take a gamble on this, but now it's just that a dime a dozen for reviews out there, everyone's got an opinion, you're making a decision and you're just clicking a button and you got it, not even have to leave your house, and it's just done like that, especially if it's a small game.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you've got a Steam account, you can just literally buy an account, download it before you get home, it's like already on there.
You know, I used to hear about a game coming out, and you used to have to get the magazine that would have the exclusive review beforehand, and it was just one person's opinion that you was trusting in, which is kind of better. You know, it was kind of like there was no mixing stuff up, not getting confused with somebody who hates something. Yeah, with I hate this game because of, you know, the frame rate drops to 59.
Who cares? I think a lot. You are right. Like we've kind of explained, obviously, digital versus physical media, and you can see. Obviously, there are good points and bad points of it, but I think a mix is probably my view, and I think...
Yeah, that's my view as well. Yeah. I'm still edging towards physical, but the more I spoke about this today, the more I'm like, yeah. If Nintendo, for example, come out and go, right, this account system, done, going to work across future systems, I'm much more inclined to go.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I want to somehow... in the future be able to access my virtual console library from the Wii. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. Even if it's just a small feat upgrade, then just to know that I have access to those games. Steam has support me.
Yeah, that's the problem. Once you get used to something like Steam, like I wanted to transfer over my 3DS collection, which is where my biggest library is.
Can do that. You have to phone them up. You have to get the serial.
Yeah, but that's going from one 3DS to another. But you are right.
But that proves that there is some sort of account system in place.
Exactly. So they should allow us then to put it on the Switch, because that's what I really want. Because I think Wii, 3DS, and Wii U should all be. If you bought it, you should be, even if you have to pay like 50p a game, £1 a game, I think max, no more. And I think you're being greedy if you're going beyond that.
Yeah, but like, you know, all wireless controllers should work between the same company. Why don't your 360 controllers work on an Xbox One? It's just a firmware update.
No, it's cheeky, isn't it?
You know, so the reasons to, you know, people argue about hardware compatibility. At the end of the day, it's just using some sort of frequency that you could probably set the console to accommodate. one way or another. This question was raised, and I know we're digressing hugely here, but this question was raised in regards to the Wii U Pro controllers.
Yeah.
The Wii U controllers working on Switch, and Nintendo's response was like, we'd look into that if the kind of demand is there. Well, you're not doing that. It's 60 odd quid a pop for a Pro controller.
It is.
People want that Pro controller, they're going to buy it.
Yeah,
and it's sold really well. It's, everyone I know has a Pro controller. That means they've gone out and bought an additional controller, even if they're playing the system by themselves.
But we found when we bought it, I saw the original controllers, and then I saw the Pro, and I went out that afternoon and bought a Pro controller.
Yeah.
And I think once your friends have it and they're like, yeah, it's really good, you're like...
But that comes back to like digital. Like I think the incentive for companies, and same physical backwards compatibility perhaps is, well, nostalgia's bigger than ever. People live for nostalgia. They live to relive the 80s, 90s, noughties. So how can we resell it?
Exactly.
I just think digital is probably the way that we're going to get the best
exactly
of that out of it. But yeah, cool. It's been a long one. But
been an interesting conversation, so I hope you guys enjoyed it. Any comments? Please leave your feedback. Opinions.
Comments. On that note, next week at least 2 of us of the trio will be going to a retro gaming
event in London, and it's London Gaming Market, and they'll be there on Sunday the 15th. So we're going to go there and have a look.
Catch a bit of footage. We go there every year.
Yeah, right. At least 2 or 3 times a year when we can. And then we're just going to have a look at what stuff's available.
Which ties into the physical and digital.
Yeah, exactly. You
couldn't do that for digital collection again. No. So you go in and it comes back to the collectability. It's like, cool, I remember this game. I'm going to buy that.
Yeah.
But yeah, stay tuned for the update.
Yeah. Stay switched on.